North Road made this.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Games with BK. This is episode 1, season 3 of the Coach Clay Brown Sr. Dynasty Mode series. And before we get into this actual season and all the meeting this current team, I wanted to kind of take a little trip back and recap how we got to this point in the series. So first off, Coach Clay Brown Sr. took over this Grambling State Tigers team a couple of years ago. He signed a 3-year contract, hoping to turn around a pretty much cupcake franchise or cupcake program. Devoid of high-level talent, you had Paul Blake trying his best as the senior quarterback, but underneath him, you had a couple of prospects that Coach Clay Brown Sr. wanted to work with, including Malik Wright II. Now, the season started off very, very rocky. The opening play of the game was a long run by Jackson State on the Grambling State defense, which I'm going to put that clip up here. And it didn't get much better after that, because the offense couldn't really score any points. The defense couldn't stop the offense from scoring, the opposing offense from scoring any points. And we got our first glimpse of our new nemesis or rival, Jack Frost, the quarterback. A guy who enters this year 3 as a real legitimate Heisman candidate for Jackson State. Now, we did kind of stabilize and become bowl eligible, and I'm going to put up some highlights from the bowl game. But the bowl game was like a twofold situation. We were able to, celebrate the fact that we stabilized the program a little bit, but it was also an opportunity to get some reps for the younger players, which you're seeing right now. A lot of these clips are coming from quarterback Malik Wright II. You got some clip in there with Cam Teague, the young running back, players that I felt like could be cornerstone players going forward. Malik Wright in particular, despite not having great overall ratings, was a very mobile quarterback, could get around, hit the short passes, could get outside of the pocket, and if plays broke down, use his legs to pick up big first downs or touchdowns. And this was basically like an extended practice, because he was redshirted as a true sophomore in our opening season. I wanted to see what we had with this quarterback, as opposed to, because I know I wasn't going to recruit any blue chip type talents, but so he did his best in that bowl game, but we still lost, as you can see with the score on the screen. That took us into year 2. He went from like a 59 overall quarterback to, I want to say, a 66 overall quarterback with the off-season training, but he entered year 2 as the starting quarterback, displaying some of those same gifts and becoming pretty efficient in the opener against Bethune-Cookman, and being pretty explosive in that upset win against LSU, which I'm going to throw some clips here on the screen. This was probably the signature win in year number 2. Because also in that game, you saw some little glimpses of Derwin Davis II becoming one of the top targets. You saw Josh Caddis, the tight end, becoming another one of the top targets for Malik Wright II. And, aside from getting that blowout win, we were able to go up against some of the teams that beat us up in year 1. And I called it the Get Back Revenge Tour. And I'm going to post some of those clips up here. Didn't always work out, like the Howard Bison beat us on a fumble, a go-ahead touchdown that would have won the game in overtime. That was a tough loss to take, but they defeated Jackson State. Le'Veon Moss, who fumbled in that game against Howard, came up with a big bounce-back game, 2 touchdowns. The South Dakota State game, we took a big risk at the end of that one on a 4th down to try to ice away the game. So we picked up a win there. We beat Jackson State, the big nemesis right there. And Taj Coles showed off a lot of his abilities in pass rushing in that ball game. He's put up 45, but I wanted to shut those guys out. But Malik Wright II throughout that year showcased an ability to be efficient and explosive when necessary, leading us into the bowl game against Akron, in which we won. It was kind of an ugly, sloppy game, but we needed that progress and that growth in Malik Wright to bring us to this point in year 3. So we're looking at some of the players who are leaving the program. Starting off, it's important for me to mention that some of these players that you see are actually coming back, like King Paulie and Tanner Millam. They're being redshirted this season, so they will be back in another year. But now the important players that I'm losing, you see those top-rated offensive linemen. They were big reasons why we were able to get the yardage. Josh Caddis, the tight end, Le'Veon Moss, the running back, Taj Coles, who I kept calling Coley for whatever reason. Big members of this team that I'm going to miss going forward. But thank them for their time and their service. Now moving into the draft results, of course, we ain't got a single player drafted. If this was a real life thing, many of those prospects that I mentioned before would be like late round picks and UDFA type players, but overall ratings are not that high. Now we quickly scroll through some of the recent commitments. These are some of the players who are coming in from the transfer portal, and as well as the incoming freshmen from the high school ranks. So you can see a few of those players. See some 3-star talents. We're not one of the big boy programs, so we're not going to be pulling 4- and 5-star talent left and right. We are able to get a couple of them, but we're not going to have entire classes filled with 4- and 5-star talents. Very ambitious. Now looking at this list here, we got a 4-star defensive lineman prospect. We got a 4-star strong safety prospect. You're going to see a transfer prospect who at linebacker, pass rusher, upperclassman, who's coming in 4 stars as well. Now the player that I'm looking at as an instant impact freshman is going to be Shadon Biggs, the tight end, vertical threat tight end with some size. I got spoiled using Josh Caddis last year. Between him and Kevin Littlejohn, the 2 tight ends that I brought in, I'm going to try to develop these guys and turn them into legitimate targets. So expect to see them get the ball thrown in their directions a lot this season. And again, this is based off of how I had a strong tight end with Syracuse, my favorite team, when I played with them online. When I started this Grambling State thing, the tight ends were not that good. So I got to get that position group up to par. Now, position changes. There's nothing really of note here aside from moving some defensive players, maybe from lineman to linebacker, or moving them from one side of the line to the other. But you have a safety who's moving to our starting free safety. A corner is moving to our starting free safety. Now, the off-season training results. Let's take a look. Well, actually, we can get into the coach skills. We got 30 points to spend. You're going to see how I spend them. Again, some of these categories are locked until you accomplish certain tasks, like you got to win like rivalry games and bowl games, bring in certain level of recruits, and then you can unlock these categories to become like this multi-talented, all-time great head coach. But right now I only have the recruiter and the scheme guru, or tactician I should say, attributes that are open to me right now. So that's where you're going to see those points being allocated. Try and see if I can get some development out of these other skill position guys. I think I've maxed out the quarterback position. And once we can unlock Scheme Guru, you're going to see some more benefits from that. I do have to say I like how this coach abilities system works, because you can't just come in and become a Nick Saban in one season. Like, it takes time. So some of these categories and coach abilities require you to show some sustained success. It's a whole lot of alliteration right there. So it makes sense. Like, you're not going to come in automatically be able to be the master motivator or master recruiter or game strategist off the bat. It's going to take some time and some wins and some, you can't do it overnight. We advance on to the next screens here. Notice that Malik Wright is still at risk of transfer. We're going to try to remedy that. Now, with the encouraged transfers, it's basically cutting people from your team. I'm gonna let this speak for itself. But you noticed on the last screen we had Malik Wright II at risk of transfer due to playing style. When I was doing my research to try to figure out how to prevent that, basically the scores dictate what you have to do to get an A score. For your quarterback or whatever, you have to hit a certain yard per game target in order for that deal breaker to be satisfied. Hope I explained that well. So just going to give an example. Right now, I think I'm throwing like 230 yards per game with Malik Wright II. I think an A might be like in the 270s, 280s. And I did that by looking at other quarterbacks, like who are near the top end, and that's how I kind of made that determination to see what they were throwing for and what the cutoffs were. Because there's a screen that you can do that with, what teams have in each category. It's not complicated, but I don't think I did a good job of explaining it. But that's basically it. Like for some of these deal breakers, you gotta get to a certain per game stat in order to satisfy it. So now with the cutting, you got a 85 player roster limit. So that means a lot of the lower end players are going to be out of here. What else? I know what I was going to say now. I wonder if any of these cut players actually pop up at other schools. That'd be interesting. I'm guessing the smaller players just disappear from the game, but the higher rated players should, like in theory, pop up elsewhere. So we're moving along to our schedules. Taking a look at our schedule, like the first two games of the season are played against Atlantic 10 basketball schools, UMass and Temple, before we get into the Sun Belt Conference. Now, there are a lot of teams here that I'd like to get victories over, and I want to make it to that last week that you see there, the Sun Belt Championship game. I missed out on it last time around. Missed out, of course, in the first season. So I'd like to get there. Now, looking at meeting the team now, meeting our good old squad here. We're going to start off with our quarterback, Malik Wright II, 74 overall. Comes in as the unquestioned starter. 77 overall due to the increases. Got Bird Williams right behind him, 76 overall quarterback. The hardest thrower on the team is Charlie Hocker. I recruited him as a scrambler. Probably won't play for a year or even two. And right behind him, you got Damian Harvin, a big scrambler. King Paulie, this is your final opportunity as a redshirt senior. That jersey 26, you got to wear it with pride, man. Cam Teague, right behind him as the running back, who probably I should start, because he's my guy with the developmental traits. Tyleek Drummond had a huge year last year, especially as a pass receiver. You see the acceleration and speed and agility. And then Smash Williams comes back for his final season as a redshirt senior. So we got a heavy running back core. The fullbacks, again, they got that converted tight ends, two converted tight ends with McLawler and Bentley coming back at fullback. The wide receiver group, we got to get some more production out of Rob Miranda. I got to try to find this guy. He came in as a 4-star recruit. He's like an 84 overall player right now. Derwin Davis II, he's at 80 right now. Javar Moore coming back from a red shirt. Very, very fast player. Got to find a way to get him the ball. Jimmy Sanderson, I'm disappointed because I can't get the ball to him. He's a tall target, deep threat. Got to get him the ball. Tanner Millam looks like a legitimate guy who, if you catch him in the slot, probably can burn some teams. Jason Pitts, want to see if we could do a little something with him this year. And we got Greg Monty, the true freshman. I don't have a whole lot of expectations for him this season. He's going to be redshirt. Now, Miles Springer, Shadon Biggs, Kevin Littlejohn, going to be the lead three in terms of the tight end group, but I'm definitely going to play Shadon Biggs more because he's the guy with the highest speed numbers. Brian Merling, another tight end to look out for on the roster. The offensive line group, I don't talk a lot about them, even though they are the most important guys on the field on offense. We have some guys who I feel like there might be on the cusp of something. Like, if I can find the right mix, we can probably replicate some of the success that we had from last year. But I anticipate a drop off. Like, despite seeing these numbers in the 80s for some of these players, I anticipate a drop off. It just feels different. I don't know if that makes sense. But you see the players there. We're going to be redshirting a few of them, a couple of them. Now on defense, which you're going to see momentarily, I'm still cycling through the offensive line. But on defense, that's where I'm going to really need someone to step up and replace that production from Taj Coles. We got some incoming players here who, coming from the transfer portal, some freshmen. we need to get something done here, man. We need to get a pass rusher to take the charge, take the lead, and put pressure on these quarterbacks. But I want to develop more than one pass rusher. I want to have like twin pass rushers. Now the interior defensive line is better than it's been in the past years. We got Sammy Watt, D'Lo Johnson, DJ Dean, and Phillip Finch, who's been here with us the entire time. We should be able to stop some of that inside run stuff. Nick Forsythe, he was a defensive lineman. Now he's a linebacker. Hoping to get some production out of that group. Micah Glass was a big-time transfer last year. Comes in as a starter this year. Vontae Mack, Marquez Carty, Ben Laney. Decent speed numbers for some of these guys. Whit Weeks, that's the pass rushing specialist there, coming in as a transfer. Jordan Underwood still with the program. Got to develop him. Got 2 more years of service out of him. The corners need work and production out of Dubose and Holland. We got a new crop of other talents behind them at the cornerback spot. Sidney Stovall getting some chance to play. Randall Glenn. I want to say Richard O'Brien is a transfer coming in for his senior season, as well as Caleb Patterson. So we got some upperclassmen. Malik Moon rounding out the rest of the squad. Dakota Mills, that converted cornerback into free safety. That opened the door for me to redshirt James Ivey. And we got Aiden Duncanson as a starter. So that gives me the opportunity to redshirt Ben Chierdo. Now, the special teams is a little bit of a mess, man. We don't have a lot of strong kickers or punters, so we might be in trouble. But the overall rating for the team, 83. So I like that. Now, looking at the depth chart, Malik Wright II, of course, returns as our starter, unquestioned starter. We're going to redshirt Mr. Damian Harvin. Charlie Hawker is going to be our third stringer. And I don't foresee him playing, to be honest, man, until maybe his junior season, unless we get injuries. King Pauly, giving him his chance. This is his chance to shine. Cam Teague, the second string running back, as well as our short yardage guy. Tyleek Drummond is going to be our weapon. Smash Williams, he can do some short yardage stuff too. Like, I know in year one, I used to get a lot of short yardage stuff, opportunities for him. And those converted tight ends are the 1 and 2 at fullback, with Seth McLawler starting at fullback. Now we're moving on to the wide receiver core. Jimmy Sanderson Jr., the tall target. We need you, man. We need you. Rob Miranda, I'm going to start him opposite Sanderson. Derwin Davis going to try to still keep him out of the slot, work him out of the slot. I feel like he's more effective there. Javon Moore, Tanner Millam, and Jason Pitts II will round out the rest of our wide receiver core that will get time this year. Shaden Biggs starting at the tight end spot, with Miles Springer and Kevin Littlejohn rounding out the rest of the tight ends. On the offensive line, don't know if this mix is going to work. With Billy Bob starting left tackle. We're going to have Keon Robertson, the third at left guard. We got Ernest Tiller at center. Chandler Strong behind him, who you could start. We got Will Larkins at the right guard. And we have Grant Huff over on the right tackle spot. Defensively, we got Moiston, we got Carruthers, our starting ends. On the interior, DJ Dean. That's my guy. I like him, man. DJ Dean, he's going to play a lot. upperclassmen Guy D.O. Johnson and Sammy Watt, incoming players who should be the future at that position. I'll move to like a 4-3. That'd be even better. Jordan Underwood getting his opportunity to start. Carmichael Glass returns for his final season. And we're going to have Whit Weeks. He needs to be that pass rushing demon. Look at that acceleration off the line. Now, DuBose and Holland be our starting corners with Stovall, O'Brien, and Patterson. So upper class heavy with our corners. Dakota Mills starting at free safety. Again, converted corner, a little slow at corner. And then we got Aiden Duncanson as our starting strong safety with Quincy Blue backing him up. George Lincoln III, our punter, who's going to be the kicker. And we're going to try to do what we can with this. Smash Williams on returns, along with Javon Moore. Javon Moore is going to be the punt returner. I probably should do some changes here. Make some changes here. And see if we can improve the field position by virtue of special teams. Third string back. This might eventually become Tyleek Drummond, but we're going to work with my guy King Pauly for a little bit. Slot receivers, you see what we got set there. And that's it. In preparation for next week's game against UMass, Coach Clay Brown is going to throw on his CB1 headphones, listen to a little bit of DMX, and enjoy the premium wireless audio of Clay Sounds. Clay Sounds, not available in stores nor anywhere else.
North Road made this.